and nobody else does. So boom, you just got yourself up to truly distinctive with a hot dog stand, right? And that's the
That's
beauty of it
amazing.
is if you can do that, it's something that can't be patented, and that's why I picked this example because you can't really patent a hot dog stand. Then
Yeah.
you can do that with any of your ventures. So then you go back to, right? I mean, people designing cereal, or you got people making apps, or you got people selling supplements in the gym, or and you say, how are you going to be costly or hard for, significantly difficult for others to imitate you, right?
That's right.
And
No,
that's the beauty of it,
that's amazing. And it just shows how important this step is.
right?
And going through the exercise, because in the beginning, back to my original example of what people commonly do when they first come up with an idea and they want to go online and check if anybody's doing it and that sort of thing. Like, even if they went on there and said, like in your example, they said, "Oh my gosh, nobody has hot dog stands.
Right.
I'm gonna build a hot dog stand.
If
It's gonna be awesome. I
you're the
have
first
no
hot dog stand
competition
in the planet, right?
on the planet.
You,
There is no hot dog stands. Oh my gosh, I got everybody. This is gonna be amazing."
right.
Right? They get on there. Everybody catches on in about a day that it's a great idea.
Yeah.
If you blink on day two, there's 40 million hot dog stands.
Right. Because just to give you the logic from a strategic point of view, it's because it was valuable. It was the first
Yeah.
one. I can get a hot dog right over there, man. It was
Yeah.
rare. There's nobody else out here. I'm going to go get his hot dogs, right? And it was superior because, well, the alternative wasn't where I was, but not costly to imitate. So it was only a temporary competitive advantage, right?
Absolutely. And the
Beauty.
funny thing is, you see people make those mistakes, and then when that competition starts to pop up, because it isn't costly to imitate your idea, what do
Right.
you start to do? You start looking at your competitors and saying, "Oh yeah, but that's not, our hot dogs are way better."
Right.
And you're like, "Yeah, but they're not."
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know why? Because you bought them at the same spot you bought
Right.
them. So
Exactly.
you can fool yourself as much as you want,
Yeah.
but you're going to get to a point where you realize that you've made a mistake.
Yeah.
Yes, you're first to market, absolutely.
Yeah.
But because of that particular piece and it being easy to imitate,
Exactly.
you're now in a pickle.
And so to play the other side, which is somebody goes and Googles hot dog stands, which they don't even need to do because they know they're all over, but they go and Google hot dog stands and they're like, oh, hot dog stands are everywhere. I can't turn this into something. It's just hot dogs and they're everywhere. But you can. We just showed how if you're innovative and pick two examples, right? Or pick the scale. One is tweaking the hot dogs, and that gives you a little bit of a super temporary advantage. And then the next was an app for pre-ordering. Yeah, that's better. That's a little more. It gives you more time. It's less temporary. And then the last was get the rights to the stadium. Then we saw how it gets increasingly more sustained as a competitive advantage, right? It's just a beautiful thing. And so then that's just hot dogs, right? But the same concept applies to everything from biomedical devices to to, like we've said, gym supplements to your new startup in drone technologies to a social business to a not-for-profit. It doesn't matter. It's the same concept, and you can think that way, and it's powerful, right? And so yeah, I mean, I think the last thing I've got in my mind that I don't want to lose here is that it's not just getting the rights to a stadium. That doesn't work for biomedical devices or for, right? There's other ways to get costly to imitate down. And so when you're sitting there now looking at this, looking at your idea napkin, and you're like, how do we make this thing costly to imitate? Because that's the tough part of distinctive competencies. You're going to be thinking about that. So I thought we could just go through a couple of examples for different things. The most obvious is patent. If you can get a patent, you've got a fixed, very decent amount of time where nobody's allowed to imitate, and that as long as you get the funds to protect your patent and go after those who violate it, you've bought a costly to imitate, right? It's beautiful. But there's other ways too, right? There's other ways to do it. Like I'm just thinking out loud here, but yeah, a big brand. If you're a big brand, and I guess this is kind of chicken and egg. If you're starting out, you don't have that big brand yet. So how do you get that big brand? But if you are a big brand, that can be costly to imitate, and that can come from first to market. If you're recognized and you come out and you're first to market and everything's good, you can go from decent sustain or decent temporary to just truly sustained competitive advantage on brand and first to market. trying to think about things. Celebrity endorsement. That's what they're doing there, right? They're trying to borrow someone's brand to make it hard to imitate.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. Can you think of any other examples? While we're trying, I was trying to flow a few out for people so that they could go, yeah, okay, I got to do some looking, but maybe these are helping me get my head around it, So
Yeah, well, what I love is you really start to see now that we're at, the fifth question of the main part of the napkin, you really start to see how important it is to get these answers or get these questions answered correctly, because it really does change the landscape of, the previous questions that you've answered,
so true.
To talk about kind of how you've moved down the path of creating distinctive competencies for this particular hot dog idea. Like you said, now you're thinking about a web app. Well, you weren't thinking about a web developer when you did this. You were
Right.
thinking about, I'm going to get some hot dogs and get myself a little stand, and I'm going to wheel my way to the stadium, and off I go.
Right.
So, it's a completely different thing now. If you don't have access to a web developer or a web, app developer, now you're in a situation where you've got to rethink your who are we or who am I,
Right.
And is that an added expense that you're willing to, to fork out at the beginning of a venture,
Right.
And you didn't have that problem before,
Yeah.
So just things like that. It's really, really important. You want to be going through these sorts of exercises and be proactive about how you go about, attacking this venture, as opposed to being reactive, which is where a lot of us get into a problem where we're starting to pivot when we've already taken the leap.
Right.
And, that's when issues start to happen. That's when, financial struggles and partnerships start to fall and all sorts of things start to happen. So
That's
it's
such a
really,
good
really
point.
important.
You raised a couple of great points for me there, and I want to add to them. Some people will look at that and go, yeah, but what if I don't want to be in the business of making apps for hot dog stands? Or maybe what if I don't want to be in the business of selling to a stadium and serving a stadium? That's not I wanted to make hot dogs on the corner, and that's all I wanted. So what I say there is, yeah, but like you just alluded to, wouldn't you rather know ahead of time that you don't have something that's costing? So you only have competitive parity, or you have a temporary advantage. Wouldn't you rather know that ahead of time going into it so that you can make that decision? Because go ahead and sell hot dogs. And truly, I don't mean to be negative there or sarcastic. Go ahead and sell them, but know that you're in that competitive situation before you start. And the other thing was this little chart we got down here in the corner, right? That the regular hot dog stand is highly feasible, but low on impact. So it's high up here and low on here. And a lot of people will say to me, "What's wrong with that, man? Like, Alex, I just want a lifestyle business." And I say, "Yeah, that's okay, but I want you to think through the 10 options. Maybe it's optimistic. 4 options, let's say, that would get you to this top right-hand corner. Like right now, we've just done it with hot dogs. Okay, I see that, yeah, and I see that one and that one. And we did it. We came up with 2 that were decent, 1 that was good. But at least know what those are before you embark on it, because those alternatives will give you places to go with your venture. And the hot dogs is almost silly, but it's meant to be illustrative. But again, biomedical device, or you name it. I just picked on the other extreme, right? Because that's so different from the low-tech hot dog service in so many ways. But if you can do it, do the same thing and look at those strategic alternatives and maximize your potential. Even if you choose not to chase that path, know what that path looked like and know where it lands on this landscape you talked about before you begin, or as early as possible. Because like we've said in other places in this course and elsewhere, it's better to know now and get it right up front and be designing the right now than you're neck deep. You got people lending you tons of money. Your family's counting on you. You're embarrassed to say it's not working, or you actually get in there and you're like, yeah, I didn't want to just be another restaurant, hot dog stand, biomed device. I wish I'd broken that mold before, right? So
Well,
yeah,
that's it. Well, there you have it, people. Distinctive competencies.
yeah, it's
Try to nail it. You don't always nail it, but you want to try to do your best to get there at the beginning.
It's so true. And like, I'm going to back this up, look at this idea napkin in total here. I mean, we're going to do one more of these in a minute, the substitutes and alternative. But when I look at these 6 that are on here, distinctive competencies is always people's stumbling block. You imagine, it's not. I don't subscribe to Dragon's Den and Shark Tank and that kind of judging situation for a bunch of reasons because it's not super. It's good and bad.
Yeah.
But there's so many people that get to that place. They're making that pitch, whether it's to a funder or to a judge or to a customer or something like that. And in the background, when people get good at this, the distinctive competency is what's holding them back. And to go deeper than that, it's this little piece right here on it not being costly for others to imitate. That is so key. And you should be looking at this point now. What are the versions of this idea that could make it costly to imitate? Even if I end up, pivoting off these in ways I don't think I'm going to go, what are those alternatives, those strategic alternatives right now at the back of the napkin stage so that I can be as efficient with my resources as possible? I can be as aware of my decision context. And even if I make a decision, at least I don't make it blindly, right? So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
No?
Great.
Well, there it is. Hope this helps, guys.
Yeah.
This one.
This is a good one. Yeah, I'll dig in on this one and we'll see you at the next one.